People say they want success, they want financial freedom, they want impact. But here's the hard truth. Success is earned, not given. No one's going to hand it to you. There's no golden ticket, no hack. No morning routine is going to compensate for doing the actual work. Let me break this down in simple terms. 1. Entitlement is the enemy. Stop acting like the world owes you something because you worked hard. Hard work alone doesn't make you successful. Valuable output does. If your work isn't producing value for the market, no one cares how hard you tried. So if you're not getting the results you want, that's feedback, not failure. 2. Motivation is overrated. Skill isn't people think, I'm not motivated enough. That's not your problem. The problem is you're not skilled enough. Well, if you had the skill, you'd win even without motivation. Motivation is a byproduct of progress. Progress comes from reps. Reps build skill. Skill drives value. Value creates income. So skip the hype, build the skill. 3, you need more reps than you think. Everyone wants results fast, but results follow repetition. It takes hundreds of cold calls, thousands of pieces of content, years of relentless iteration. Think about it. If you want to get good at anything, sales, content, building a business, you need to out-rep everyone else, not for a week, not for a month, for as long as it takes. 4, sacrifice is inevitable. Choose when you're either sacrificing your time, energy, and peace now for freedom later, or you're sacrificing your future to be comfortable today. Most people pick comfort today and then wonder why life never changes. Discipline is painful, but regret is worse. You get to choose your hard. 5, there's no hack for discipline. This part's going to sting. You don't need another motivational video. You don't need a new book. You need to do the boring work every single day. Discipline isn't about feeling like it. It's about doing it when you don't. That's where the growth is. That's where separation happens. 6, the market pays for value, not effort. The market doesn't care how many hours you worked. It cares what problem you solved. If you grind for 12 hours a day, but you're not solving real problems, then it's just motion, not progress. So ask yourself, is your grind actually creating value? Because only value gets rewarded. Fire final words. If you want to win, stop negotiating with your excuses. Stop looking for easy. Stop waiting for permission. Put your head down, stack your skills, do the reps. And remember, nothing worthwhile is given. Everything is earned. Most people don't realize it, but entitlement is silently killing their potential. They believe that just because they've been working hard, they deserve results. Just because they showed up, just because they want it bad enough, that the world somehow owes them success. But it doesn't. No one is coming to give you anything. No one is watching your efforts like some invisible scoreboard, waiting to reward you when you cross some imaginary line of effort. That's not how life works, and that's especially not how business works. The faster you kill your sense of entitlement, the faster you'll start making real progress. Because entitlement makes you blind to the feedback that actually matters. If you're not getting results, it's not because people are sleeping on you, or because you're unlucky, or because the algorithm doesn't like you. It's because the value you're producing isn't high enough, or consistent enough, or clear enough. And that's on you. Effort is important, but effort without feedback is just wasted motion. And the most dangerous mindset you can have is thinking, I've worked so hard, I should be successful by now. No, that statement assumes the world owes you something for trying. But in the real world, trying doesn't matter. Only outcomes do. The market doesn't reward effort. It rewards value. Your friends might clap for you because you're grinding. Social media might applaud your hustle, but the marketplace, it's silent. It only speaks in results. It doesn't care how bad you want it. It only responds to what you can produce. You can either get bitter about that, get so damn good they can't ignore you. That's what gets rewarded. That's what makes you unstoppable. Motivation might start the engine, but skill is what drives the machine. Build that, and you'll never have to rely on motivation again. Everybody wants the result. They want the six-figure business, the perfect physique, the millions of followers, the passive income. But here's what they don't want: the thousands of boring, unsexy, repetitive reps it actually takes to get there. That's the disconnect. People are obsessed with outcomes, but allergic to the process, and the process is what matters most. Most people are overthinking and under-executing. They spend hours tweaking their website, researching strategies, planning content, Designing logos, thinking that somehow all this preparation is going to lead to success. It won't, because success doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. It comes from doing. It comes from reps. You want to get better at sales? Do 500 cold calls, then 500 more. You want to be great at content? Post every day for 365 days. Don't miss. You want to build a business? Launch, fail, adjust. Again and again. The people at the top didn't get there by luck. They got there by out-repping everyone else. They built their skill in the trenches, one call, one email, one conversation at a time. You don't learn by watching, you learn by doing. And by doing it so many times that failure becomes part of your muscle memory. The reason you're not getting the results you want isn't because you're not smart enough or talented enough. It's because you haven't done enough reps yet. It's not personal. It's math. And here's what's really wild. Most people quit before the compounding kicks in. They post 10 times, don't see traction, and quit. They pitch 20 clients, get rejected, and give up. They try something for a month, then pivot to something else. Why? Because they're focused on short-term outcomes instead of long-term mastery. They're measuring progress by results, not reps. That's backwards. Your first 100 reps are supposed to suck. Your first videos will be cringe. Your first sales calls will be awkward. Your first offers will flop. But that's the point. That's the cost of greatness. And if you can push through the part where most people quit, where it's hard, where it's unrewarding, where it's boring, you build something most people never will, real skill. And once you've got skill, results follow automatically. The truth is you're not stuck, you're just early. And the only way through is more reps. You can't shortcut them, you can't outsource them. You have to earn every single one. So stop worrying about how many likes you're getting, how many leads you've closed, or how fast your channel's growing. That's noise. Focus on the reps. Stack them relentlessly. Stack them when no one's watching. Stack them when it feels pointless, because the day will come when it clicks. When all those ugly, unseen, unrewarded reps suddenly turn into results, and people call you lucky. But you'll know you didn't get lucky. You just never stopped repping. You're going to sacrifice either way. The question is when. People think they can skip the pain, avoid the hard parts, delay the discipline. But life doesn't work like that. If you don't pay the price now, you'll pay it later with interest. The pain is unavoidable. The difference is whether it builds you or breaks you. Most people are sacrificing their future for comfort today. They sleep in instead of building something. They scroll instead of learning. They party instead of working. Why? Because it feels good now. Because no one's holding them accountable in the moment. But eventually the bill shows up. The regret hits. The opportunity is gone. And they realize they've traded decades of freedom for a few moments of convenience. That's the real cost of avoiding sacrifice. The winners in life are the ones who flip the formula. They choose the hard now. They choose the grind, the discipline, the repetition, the restraint, not because they like pain, but because they understand it's the gateway. Short-term sacrifice is what creates long-term options. Long-term options. And long-term options are what most people never have. You think grinding for 5 years is hard? Try being stuck for 40. Sacrifice isn't about punishment. It's about leverage. When you give up distractions, you gain clarity. When you give up ease, you build strength. When you give up short-term pleasure, you unlock long-term power. It's a trade. Every no to something now is a yes to something bigger later. More freedom, more time, more control. But here's what most people get wrong. They think they'll get serious later, after the weekend, after the holidays, after they're in the right mindset. But a later is a lie. There is no perfect moment. There's only now. Every day you delay the sacrifice, you compound the cost. Waiting doesn't make the work easier. It makes the consequences heavier. You'll sacrifice your evenings now or your dreams later. You'll sacrifice your ego now or your opportunity later. You'll sacrifice your comfort now or your potential later. That's the truth no one wants to hear, because it's easier to pretend you have time than to admit you're wasting it. You get to choose your hard. Waking up early is hard. So is being broke. Grinding through rejection is hard. So is watching others pass you by. Building discipline is hard. So is living with regret. The sacrifice is inevitable, but only one version leads to freedom. The most successful people aren't the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who were willing to do the hard things early so they could live easy later. So stop looking for shortcuts. Stop trying to skip the sacrifice, lean into it, own it, because the pain of discipline lasts minutes. The pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Sacrifice is the rent you pay for greatness. Pay it now or pay it forever. Everyone's looking for the hack, the shortcut, the cheat code. They want the trick that makes discipline easy. But here's the reality. You can't hack discipline. You can't skip the part where it's hard. You can't automate character. Discipline is not something you buy, it's something you build, and it's built in the moments where it's the last thing you want to do. We live in a world obsessed with convenience, one-click everything, fast results, dopamine on demand. So when it comes to actually doing hard, consistent work, most people look for the easier way first. Cold plunge, new journal, accountability buddy, set 5 a.m. routine. They'll try anything except doing the actual work. And that's the trap. Discipline has nothing to do with how motivated you feel or how many hacks you stack. It's not about biohacking your brain or drinking butter coffee. It's about making a promise to yourself and keeping it, especially when it sucks, especially when it's boring, especially when there's no reward in sight. That's when real discipline is built. Not when things are going well, but when they're not. You don't need more tips. You need more follow through. You don't need to optimize your day. You need to stop breaking your word to yourself. Every time you say you're going to do something and then don't, you weaken your identity. You train yourself to believe your word is optional. But every time you follow through, no matter how small the task, you reinforce a different story. I'm the kind of person who does what I say. And that identity, that internal reputation is everything. Because once you truly believe you are a disciplined person, the decisions become easier. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop giving yourself the option to quit. That's the secret. Not some mental trick, but becoming the kind of person who does it anyway. Discipline is a skill, and like any skill, it's developed through reps. You do it once, you do it 100 times, it becomes who you are. There is no finish line. You don't arrive at discipline. It's a daily decision, a daily battle. And most of that battle happens in your head before you even start the task. That first 5 minutes of resistance, that's where most people lose. But if you can win that moment, the rest becomes momentum. So forget the hacks. Forget the search for an easier path. The path is simple. Do the thing you said you were going to do, no matter how you feel. That's it. You do that long enough, and people will call you a disciplined. But you'll know the truth. You just stop breaking promises to yourself. The market doesn't care how hard you worked. It doesn't care how many hours you put in, how many sleepless nights you had, or how passionate you are. Is this, did you solve a problem? Did you deliver something people actually want? Because effort is invisible. Results are not. That's the cold truth. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner you can start making real progress. They build websites, tweak logos, make content, take courses, but they're not doing the one thing that matters. Those are solving problems people are willing to pay for. If you're not creating value for someone else, you're just entertaining yourself. You're working hard. Yes, but in the wrong direction. Effort is for you. Value is for them. The customer doesn't care how many revisions it took or how long it took you to get good. They care about what they get in exchange for their time or money. That's it. The harsh truth is, if no one's buying, it's not because they don't understand you. It's because you haven't made yourself valuable enough yet. This is where most people get stuck. They take rejection personally. They say things like, people don't get my work, or so hard on this, I deserve to win. No, that's entitlement. The market is emotionless. It doesn't owe you anything just because you care a lot. You get paid in proportion to the value you create, not the effort you exert. Now, here's the flip side. Once you understand this, it becomes empowering because you stop focusing on how much you're grinding and start focusing on whether your work is actually helping someone. You shift from how can I get what I want to how can I solve someone else's problem so well that they'd happily pay for it. And once you do that consistently, the money follows, the growth follows, the recognition follows. The question you should be asking every day isn't a did I work hard today? It's a did I make someone's life easier today? That's the metric. That's what gets rewarded. You can grind all day long, but if you're not building something people want, You're just burning time, and time is the one thing you don't get back. The best in the world aren't the ones who hustle the most. They're the ones who understand how to translate effort into value. They've figured out what people want, what people hate dealing with, and they've become the solution. They get rich, not because they work harder, but because their work matters more. So stop asking for credit for trying. Start learning how to be useful. Because when you become valuable to others, the market becomes valuable to you. That's how the game works. Effort is your input. Value is the output, and only the output gets rewarded. At the end of the day, everything you want is on the other side of what most people aren't willing to do. Not because they can't, but because they won't. They're waiting for motivation. They're avoiding discomfort. They're chasing hacks. They're measuring effort instead of value. And that's exactly why they lose. If there's one thing you take from this, let it be this: success is earned, never given. You don't get it because you want it. You get it because you've built the skill, done the reps, made the sacrifices, and created something that actually matters. That's the formula. Not easy, not fast, but real. You kill entitlement by taking full ownership. You replace motivation with mastery. You trade expectations for execution. You stack thousands of boring, quiet reps. You say no to comfort now so you can say yes to freedom later. And you stop expecting rewards for effort and start creating value that deserves to win. That's the relentless grind. That's how you separate. That's how you earn it. Because in this game, no one hands you greatness. You take it.